Right, welcome to the Old Poetry Podcast, and this is a bit of a new feature. I've discussed it before in a few posts. We're having like a kind of mini midweek podcast where we chat to people that have been on their own kind of mental health journey and what they're doing now to kind of promote mental health and the things around that kind of area. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce a kind of local lad, local to myself, Ian Hind. How you doing, Ian? All right?
Yeah, good, Chris. Great to see you. Thanks very much for inviting me on. Love it.
No, absolute pleasure, pal. It's an absolute privilege to have you on. I'm glad you've made the time to come on. Um, so we'll delve straight into it, and we'll kind of talk about how you've come, because we're going to move on to kind of obviously talk knots and how you kind of come about coming into that sort of thing. But let's kind of go into your kind of journey with mental health and what led you into kind of coming up with sort of talk knots and sort of getting on with that. So yeah, over to you,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah, yeah. Cheers, Chris. Appreciate that. So yeah, my mental health, that's where it obviously started. That's why I'm here. And I guess spells of depression and anxiety over the last few years and trying to bottle things up has been a bit of a recurring theme. And I think you don't always realize quite where you're at. You kind of suppress things a bit sometimes. A few stresses come along and you kind of, you push it down a bit and you think, yeah, you've just got to get on with it because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to kind of man up and get stuck into it. But progressively over time, I was finding that was getting more and more challenging. And actually last summer was a real low. I wasn't feeling great at all, hating myself. And I wouldn't say I was at the point of doing something, but I was I was very, very close. I could see I was staring into a point where I can see why people make the decision to take their own lives, because I was at a point where I thought, um I'm not a good partner, I'm not a good dad. Um I'm I'm not performing at work, and I've got all these kind of self-imposed pressures. They were all pressures of my own in my own brain telling me that I'm not good enough. And the strange thing is, it's like I was thinking about this when we said we're going to do this. I was like, okay, sometimes what the triggers, and that's one of the things that people talk about mental health with what your triggers. And sometimes when you say the straw that breaks the camel's back, sometimes the thing at that point isn't ever actually anything that big. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be that kind of accumulation of past traumas, stresses of life, of your life, not wanting to appear that you're unable to deal with things, and then suddenly something happens and you just go pop. And that's what happened to me last summer. And yeah, it was a really, really rubbish time. And I was thinking, I need to kind of get myself out of this hole. Felt embarrassed. Felt that, I was a burden to the wife Claire, to the kids. Um, and yeah, so that's where I was at. Went through. I've been on medication on and off for the last sort of few years, and there's an embarrassment that comes with that, and sort of taking medication. So it feels like something again that you kind of keep a little bit of your life that you keep secret. So you just have to kind of put the brave face on and get on with it, So um, yeah, that's a little bit about me. It might have been a bit rambly. I always find it I'm still at that point, Chris, where I'm kind of learning to talk about it, I think, openly to other people, and that's why I think this podcast is a great opportunity for everybody to kind of talk and listen, and use it as a way of kind of facing it head on, which is what we all need to do, really.
No, exactly that, pal. And there is still a stigma around it, and I find that I'm always very open about my feelings. That's just the way I am. But there's still a massive stigma around mental health, and it's certainly with kind of men as well. Um, I for me, I find it really difficult to understand, but it's kind of it is an issue, and men still aren't talking about the kind of struggles because they a fear of, like you've just said, being kind of judged, being kind of alienated through it, and everything else. And like I said a million times, if I can get people and get the message out there, the same as yourself, to get people talking and kind of sort of destroy and kind of get rid of that stigma, then it can only be a good thing. As you well know, there is still a lot of people across the board taking their own lives because they find themselves in a hole that they feel that they can't dig themselves out of. And obviously yourself, you kind of gone down the kind of medication route and everything else. And how, if you don't mind me asking, how's the
Yeah.
medication route kind of, how's that affected you? Because I did hear a lot of things about the kind of medication route that it kind of can put you on almost like with the antidepressant. I'm assuming it's antidepressant.
Yes, yeah, antidepressants. Yeah, yeah, you're right,
That
Chris.
kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah. Happy to speak to that because again, at the point when I was offered it, I thought I don't want to do this. This isn't the way forward. Like, popping pills. But actually, what I will say is like, don't be put off by it. It's like it's not the sole solution, but I say see it as a really important stepping stone for somebody in their mental health journey, depending on where they're at, because it it can help level. It can help level where you're at. And if that is enough to just lift you up so that your head is above the trees, we talk about seeing the wood for the trees. If it can just lift you up and give you that bit of more rationality to be able to think, hang on, there are things that I need to do in order for me to move forward, then that's where medication really comes in. I think, very much depends on like the dosage and the type, but I've certainly found at points it can feel, yes, it's leveling, but then it also flattens, and that flattens emotions at both sides of the curve. So, you might want to kind of try and, you might want to blunt emotions that feel painful, but at the same time that can kind of blunt other things as well and kind of just make you feel a little bit flat. But think of it as a leg up, as a step out of the well that you're in, because for some people and for me it's been really, really helpful.
no, brilliant, brilliant, Pat. And it's good. It's good that you can come on and you can talk about that because again, it's something people sometimes see that the medication is the answer, and they're not necessarily the answer for everyone. And I kind of know a few people that have said that they don't have a high, they don't have a low, they're just on a level. But if that kind of accomplishes bringing you back down onto a level where you're not up here, then
Yeah.
it's kind of got its place, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you're looking at different, if you're looking at different resources, or if you're looking at counselling, or if you're looking at support groups, at least it's giving you that more rational approach because you're out of the hole. You're out of the hole with it, if it works for you. And then that's when you start to put things in place and think, actually, what are the things I can do to look after myself, that self-care. And then ultimately, the aim is then to come off it. I've not come off mine yet, I'll be honest, but I want to get to that point. So I'm still on a journey, but my goal is to reduce that and to come off it when I can. So
Yeah, so for short term, definitely a good thing, and
yeah,
obviously everyone's different and everything else. So yeah, no, it's really good that you've explained that, Paul, because for personally, I didn't really understand it as well. So it's good that you kind of put your perspective on it, which is yeah, no, it's really good. So how did the kind of your journey lead on to you then kind of volunteering and sort of not coming up with because I know it's kind of like a
yeah,
bit of a chain, but how you've thought about starting Talk Club? How did that kind of come about?
yeah, yeah. So I think as I've started to improve and kind of gain regain some confidence, I guess, particularly over the last few months, see that there's a gap in services, and actually I was looking for something kind of like this and thinking, actually, is there something that I can go to? I guess I think had probably the image that a number of people have about the idea of going to a group and thinking, yeah, sitting around in a circle. You've got images that you think of films and TV and just think, oh, actually, that's not something I want to do. But heard so much about it and seen so much, and actually when you look at there's some amazing services across the UK, and there are some men's services in Nottinghamshire, but not here where we are, Chris. And so I saw Talk Club, and they've got Liam Gallagher, Tyson Fury as patrons. They've got Idols bands. They've actually got you know, faces that you know and that you love, or you know that you can connect with. I mean, I was big Oasis fan, you know, so anything with Liam Gallagher's name on it, I'm thought, well, actually, if it's good enough for Liam, it's good enough for me. So, you know, I've discovered them and thought, you know, great. And actually, everything about it looked accessible. Everything was done in a way that actually, you know, that this is something I can relate to. I mean, even the language, you know, it's a talk club. They talk about having captains. You know, when they meet, they talk about, you know, it kick off at 7 o'clock. You know, final whistle. You know, at the end of the time. So there's stuff that you can relate to. And so I went on the website, but there wasn't a group for Nottingham. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, do you know what then? Looks like I'm going to have to start one myself. So I just thought, you know, the moment just suddenly caught my imagination, and I think I was feeling confident. So I thought, right, I'll go for it, you know. And I got in touch with Talk Club, and they're, you know, they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, they've got, you know, groups. I think they've got over 100 groups now across the UK, and you know, and they're always on the lookout for volunteers. And they said, yeah, great, you know, listen to where I was at. And I went through some, you know, some online training with them to be able to set up a group, and yeah, so that has been sort of my project, and you know, and as you say, you know, it's not my idea, but it's something that's important to me. You know, and Talk Club have resourced it for me, you know, with, you know, helping me with posters and stuff like that. But I think that in itself has been great for my mental health, because it's given me something to focus on. It's given me something that I'm passionate about. And, you know, for any of us that have kind of gone through our own challenges, whether it's mental health, physical health, anything, when you know somebody else is kind of in a similar situation, you immediately want to try and do something for them. So that was the other driver for me, thinking, actually, I'm on this journey. So I feel like I'm ready to help reach a hand out to the next person and kind of, you know, pull them along with me. So yeah, that's why I did it.
No, fair play, Paul. I mean, and it is a simple kind of concept. It's a club that you go and you talk. And I know you can argue, well, people do that in pubs, but they don't, do they? If you're going to a specific kind of thing where, you know, that's the topic, it'd be good. Do you have like kind of almost like not motivational speakers? Do you have like guest speakers on these talk club, or is it literally just you go and you all talk amongst yourselves? So
yeah, it is literally just talking. But the beauty of it is it's so simple. But there is some science behind it. So it was established. So one of the founders, Ben Akers, he lost a childhood friend to suicide, and that kind of prompted him. You know, he made a movie about his life, about the experiences, and then he went on to kind of form Talk Club. But you know, the early groups are very keen to make sure that there is kind of an evidence base to it, so that there is something there that actually means that when you walk in the door, you know, something's going to happen. So it's going to happen that's going to make a difference, whether slowly or surely, that's going to make a difference to your mental well-being. And they basically framed it around 4 questions. So when you come to the group, my role as a volunteer captain is there to, you know, be the smile, be the welcoming face, you know, to kind of make it feel a bit less scary. I've got me captain's t-shirt, you know, I am there just to make the conversation happen. There is no judgments, there's no advice. It's not you know, trained therapy. It is peer support. So people coming together and talking. And there are 4 questions. So we start with, how are you? Out of 10. And we all take it in turns to answer, me as well, because I'm very much part of the group. And actually, by putting a number on it, we kind of force ourselves, because when you spoke, this example of being in the pub, you know, and you get your pint, you say, oh, you're all right, mate, yeah, I'm okay, you know. But what does okay really mean? There's like, it can be, yeah, we can be the top end of okay, or actually we can be down here when just saying okay, but we're masking something, you know, and something bad's happened at home, or you know, or you just under stress at work, or just all these micro pressures are piled on top of you. But your stock answer is, I'm okay. But by putting a number on it, you're kind of forcing yourself already to kind of scale it. If we say 10 is like top of the world, but 1 is absolute rock bottom, you're going to have a go at putting yourself somewhere on that line, and you're going to kind of put yourself out there, and then have a go at saying why. So what's happening in that moment that's either making you 10 out of 10, you know, what are the things that are going on there, but equally, what got you down there at a number one? You know, what are the things that are happening at the moment? Then the next question is what you're grateful for. So what are the positives? So we all go round and have a go at identify 2 or 3 things that are going on at the minute that you can be grateful for. And the science behind this bit is that, you know, our brains, they're wired really to find the negatives. They're designed to find the threat, because actually when we were hunter-gatherers, you know, we were waiting for the crack of a leaf, you know, to know whether there was something that was going to attack us or we were going to go and get our next meal. But now those crack of the leaves are on Facebook or in your email inbox, or, you know, bills piling up, you know. So we're wired to spot the things that are a threat or a problem to us, but we're not so good at finding the good things. So actually by identifying the stuff that we can be grateful for at the minute, then that kind of changes the lens that we look at things. And it can be really simple things, you know, it can be fresh air, you might like sitting, you know, you might have a favorite bit of music you like listening to. Well, of course, it can be so great, you know, a party that's coming up, you know, there's all sorts of different things we can be positive and grateful for. Next step, what can you do over this next week to look after your mental fitness? So now this is where everybody starts generating the ideas of things that they can do to look after themselves. You can focus it around the big 3: diet, exercise, and sleep. You know, there's so much evidence to say that they're the biggies. You know, can you just do something different with your diet? Maybe you're just going to drink a little bit less alcohol this week, or you're going to cut the snacks down. Maybe exercise, you're going to try and get yourself moving a bit, get those different kind of hormones moving in your body, or sleep. Can you do something? Can you put your phone away just half an hour earlier before bedtime? Because when you get a better night's sleep, everything looks a bit better in the morning. You're coming at it with, you know, with a bit more clarity. But again, you know, it can be really simple things to look after yourself. And, you know, and we share those as a group, and then we set out. So how are you now out of 10? And so then you just put a number on how you're feeling at that moment, having kind of chatted through. So it's simple, it's effective, it's completely anonymous. There's nobody interrupts. Actually, everybody just, you know, we let each person speak, no judgment. But then where I think it really comes into its own, you know, if one person walks in as a 4, but leaves the room maybe saying they're a 5, or maybe even saying they're a 6, just by listening to others, unloading a bit, getting some ideas, then actually that's a win, because we might have played a little bit of a part in saving someone's life. If that 4 is going to go down and they're going to get, you know, they're going to get into a spiral, that actually just spending 2 hours with people, just talking, if that's lifted that number, then, you know, we've potentially, you know, together as a group, we've made a difference to somebody's life. And I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, no, absolutely as well. And I think that the kind of thing there that you kind of touched on as well is like we take for granted kind of our friend groups and probably family. And again, everyone's circumstances are different. So for something like Talk Club, that might be the only contact that maybe some of them people, you know, I know it's anonymous, but they probably won't admit that, but that might be the only kind of social gathering that they get to once a week, twice a week, whatever, you know, you kind of, so you know, for some people it might be a bit blasé, and it's like it will definitely help them, but it might mean more to some people than it will do to others. And that I think that's kind of a kind of a really big thing about it. And again, it's just a social aspect, isn't it? In an environment with like-minded individuals where you can talk about. So I suppose that brings me on a little bit to some. You touched on briefly there, but kind of the benefits of peer support. What do you feel about the benefits of it? Or
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of benefits. I mean, on the Mental Health Foundation website, actually, they've done quite a bit of study, you know, and you can kind of look on there and see like quite a bit of science behind it. But you know, there's stuff around, like you've already identified, that kind of not feeling alone. Now, whether that's physically, because this might be one of the only, you know, places that somebody gets to kind of talk and open up, but equally, because we, you know, if we're carrying this baggage, if we're carrying this, you know, these feelings, and we've said if we're not opening up because, you know, we're at the pub watching the football, but you know, conversations just kind of on a you know, on a basic level, you know, that we're not kind of getting underneath that, then you can still feel alone even if you're surrounded by people. But actually, you know, by being with other people that are kind of talking through those things, and actually, you know, you're you discover that you're not on your own then. And then you get ideas from other people. So I think, someone comes to Talk Club and think, get to the question, what can you do to look after your mental fitness? And you think, actually, I'm really struggling to come up with some ideas here, because I can't do anything. Actually hearing what, other men are doing, whether they're going for a run or whether they're, picking a cricket bat up and going for a knock around in the park, whatever makes them feel good, then actually you're getting ideas from other people. So that's kind of helps you on your journey. I think there's something about feeling accepted, because and when you spoke about the stigma earlier, Chris, that's one of the things about breaking it down, because you can feel accepted. If it can feel normal to talk about your mental health, then there is that acceptance of it, and it just becomes sort of a more natural part. And I think, that sense of community that you mentioned, actually, if it's a way of kind of bringing people together, a social aspect, because then, you might be meeting people that you've never met before. And actually that kind of open circles up, I mean, Talk Club in Nottingham, we're literally only just started, but I know around the country, all the Talk Clubs, friendships are formed, people then stay, or go for a drink afterwards and then just kind of chat, get to know each other. And then next minute they're golfing or they're, whatever, so it opens up that community. So I think there's a lot to benefit from it.
No, 100%. It does. It does sound fantastic, and like the social aspect and everything about it. No, I'm really. I kind of like the idea. I really like it, and I would like to. Well, that brings me on quite nicely. So, Talk Club Knots. What kind of, when do you have it every week? And I suppose how do people find their local talk club? How does that work?
Yeah, no problem. So Talk Club Knots has launched. So we had the first session at Carlton Town Football Club. So they've been great in letting us have a venue. So we're there the second Wednesday of the month. The Robin Hood and Little John Pub in Arnold have been great in giving us a room as well. So we're going to be there on the last Tuesday of the month. So there's two opportunities a month at the minute. So I'm kind of, softly getting it started a couple of times a month. But if anyone wants to find out more about what's in their area, if they go to talkclub.org, they can just put in their postcode and they can find what's local to them. There are talk and listen groups, which is what the ones that I'm sort of supporting are. But actually, there's talk and exercise groups as well. So where men can walk and talk, and there's little conversation cards with these same kind of questions on, so they can kind of pair up and chat. There's talk and boxing happening in a couple of other parts of the country, and there's even a barber's, which is great, and he's doing kind of a talk club while he's kind of doing the haircut. You've got all your usual, you're going anywhere nice on holiday, mate. But then there's like, how are you out of 10? So you can have a conversation with the barber while he's cutting your hair. So there's loads of different ways that it's starting to grow. But yeah, talkclub.org, for it nationally. Talk Club Knots is on Facebook for anyone that's in Nottingham that wants to see more. And also I'll signpost to Hub for Hope as well, because it's somewhere that we signpost to with Talk Club. That whoever's listening, if Talk Club doesn't sound like quite the right thing, Hub of Hope is a brilliant resource that covers loads of different areas, and you can put your postcode in and find out about individual support, group support, all sorts of different things, whether it's kind of mental health, ADHD, whether it's kind of for men, for women, LGBTQ plus, all sorts. There is loads of different services on there as well, so people can kind of find the way to what they might find helpful.
No, absolutely fantastic, pal. It sounds like really kind of beneficial, and like you say, there's lots of. It's good to hear that there's lots of different avenues coming off it, and different organisers, and again, we all should be working together and trying to promote each other, because ultimately the goal is the same from us all. We want to kind of improve mental health and make awareness out there, and like I say, kind of dispel that stigma around it. So yeah, I'll tell you what. I will definitely, and I mean this as well, I know the Robin Hood and Little John, obviously I'm an Arnold lad myself, originally. I will pop along, and I will come to one of the Talk Club nights and kind of meet some of the people and, give my take on it and everything else. So, no, absolute pleasure, Ian. It has been fantastic chatting to you. Thank you very much. I hope all goes well with it in the future. And I'll catch up with you briefly off here, mate, when I stop the recording. Brilliant. But thank you very much for coming on and sharing, mate.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I feel like I've joined a very esteemed roster of people on the Old Paratrooper podcast. So I kind of feel like it's a life goal there.
No problem at all, mate. Everybody is welcome. If you've got a story to tell and you're trying to promote stuff that's positive, I will happily sit and chat to you. I love it. I love chatting to all sorts of people with fascinating stories, and anyone that's trying to push anything that's positive, me, they've got my vote.
Brilliant. Well, you're doing great work, Chris. I love it.
Thank you very much, pal. I'll chat to you in a minute off air, but thank you very much. Thank you very much for making the time to come on.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.